Hi, I'm Chef Janine Booth, and today I am working with some Aussie beef, which I'm super excited to be presenting some of my most underrated but favorite cuts that you most likely won't see as commonly as a ribeye or a New York strip or a filet. So today we actually have flap steak. So this is a beautiful cut of meat. It's really well marbled, has a really long grain to it. It laps up marinades really, really well, and it's super versatile. The great thing about Aussie beef is as it comes, it's already really trimmed, and so there's very little trimming to be done, which is really great. So we have this beautiful long piece of flap meat here, and I'm just going to start taking off some of the silver skin on both sides, and we're going to break it down into some bavette steaks, a little fancier version of the flap steak, and talk about some of the other ways that we can utilize it on our menus. So first of all, we're just going to start trimming off some of this silver skin. And as I mentioned, you know, the Aussie beef, it already comes beautifully, beautifully trimmed. So there's really not a whole lot that you have to take off. But, you know, silver skin is not going to cook down. It's not going to be very palatable. So we like to just take that off. And there's not a whole lot of it on here. So we're just going to remove the little bits that we have and cutting it down into kind of smaller portions. We're going to aim for about 7 to 8 ounces. You'll see everywhere these days, everyone's talking about getting more protein in your diet and all of the nutritional value that comes with eating more protein. And I know personally, I feel better when I'm eating really good quality steak, especially Aussie beef, which I may be biased because I am Aussie, but I think it is definitely the best quality that you can get. And we have great access to it here in the US. This is a beautiful cut of meat, and it's super versatile. You know, you can cut it into steaks, and the most important thing with this cut is to notice the direction of the grain. So the direction of the grain is going this way here. And you know, you don't want your customer to be dealing with any kind of chewiness. So the way that we break down the steaks, I suggest that we serve the steaks actually sliced for the customer. They're going to get a really nice juicy piece of meat that's not chewy at all. So that's the one side, that's looking beautiful. We'll just flip it over. Now this one has a little bit more of the silver skin on this side. We want to try and keep as much fat on here as possible because it's beautifully marbled. Just get under there, take off some of that. Beautiful. Pieces on the side. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let me just trim that a little bit. So we're going to start by cutting our steaks. We're aiming for about 7 to 8 ounces here. And I like to kind of cut my steaks on an angle. So you see that grain is really going in this direction. So if you're going to just grill this very hot and fast, I would recommend cutting for your customer, really slicing it against the grain and serving it with like a beautiful chimichurri sauce. You could even, you know, season it with like a taco kind of seasoning and do like a version of fajitas. You could marinate it, and you know, it's really going to lap up that marinade beautifully. And there's just so many things that you can do with this one. And another preparation I like to do with these is actually sautés. So I love Indonesian food, and one of my favorite dishes is the traditional Balinese sauté. And this flap steak is actually perfect for that presentation. So I can show you exactly how we would cut that. So we've got, you know, 5 really good sized, beautiful bavette steaks from this. And then we can kind of take, you know, these end pieces and we can cut against that grain, and we're going to make these beautiful sautés. So these can just be put onto kebab sticks with like a beautiful little marinade. Just going to cut these on an angle. With this beautiful steak, you want to definitely cook it on a cast iron pan or grill it really fast. It definitely want to be served like medium rare, and it will be beautiful and juicy and flavorful and so versatile for your customers. And very little waste here. So we have 5 beautiful steaks, and this could be used for, your sautés, your stir fries, fajitas. Beautiful. So this is the flap steak, also known as bavette. Beautiful cut of meat. So we talked about breaking this flap steak down into individual portions of steak, perfect for grilling, perfect for sautés. You could also cook it whole, it could be grilled whole, it could be braised for something like a ropa vieja, tacos, braised meat for tacos, works really well for that, fajitas, and yeah, it's just a super versatile cut. The end pieces of the flap steak, you kind of end up with like a triangular cut. So it's really important to follow the grain and see where that's running and slice against it. That's gonna give the most beautiful bite. It's not gonna be chewy. If you cut with the grain, it's gonna be like beef jerky. So you don't wanna do that. I cut these steaks into 7 to 8 ounce portions for a couple of reasons. From this piece, we got 5 really nice steaks out of this. And then we got the 2 end pieces, which we can, use for fajitas, we can use for sautés, we can use for stir fry, but we got 5 beautiful steaks. And I feel like that's the sweet spot for consumers these days. They're essentially looking for a smaller cut. Not everybody's wanting to go for, a 16 ounce ribeye. They're looking for, an alternative to an 8 ounce filet. And I think this bavette steak is a really good option for that. So next time you're thinking about steak, try an Aussie flap steak. It definitely performs very well.